Hi everyone, welcome back to StarNotes. I am Ryan. I am the assistant video editor here at the Star, and I'm joined by, we want to introduce yourselves.
Yeah, I'm Lucas Didier. I'm the sports editor here at the Star.
I'm Emily. I'm the news editor.
And today we are talking about Moana 2. So, what do you guys know about Moana 2? Have you watched the trailer?
I think I have seen the trailer kind of in passing. I know my experience is not as much watching it myself. I have nieces and nephews. One of them in particular I think was like a year old when the first one came out. So I know Moana mostly as like it being on in the room when I'm with them, but I've taken bits and pieces over the years.
So when was the first time you watched it, like if you were to give me an estimate?
Yeah, I remember going to visit my brother after my nephew was born. I think he would have been around once. That probably would have been like 2017 if I have my years right. So it was, it was still fairly fresh. It was really popular, so he would watch it like all the time. So I think we watched it a few times that weekend when I was there, and every once in a while it still gets put on. He still likes it. Other nieces and nephews like it. So
Emily, what about you?
I would say I did watch the trailer. The first time I watched the first one, I don't know. Probably a few years ago, I'd say. Like, my sister liked it for a while.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get into that more as we go along. But Moana 2, in case for people who don't know, is coming out November 27th. So that's the day before Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's the day after my birthday.
Yep. And then, so the first question I just wanted to ask is, how do you guys feel about Disney releasing only sequels to, like, popular movies instead of going for more original ideas? Do you think they should stick to original ideas or stick to what they've been doing with like sequels with like Moana 2, Frozen 2? There's Zootopia 2 coming out next year. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I think as a viewer you definitely want to see original stuff. I mean, there's something to be said for like seeing the characters you like and latching onto something that you're going to like and getting more of it. But I also think, if you look at what Disney in the past has been able to do with original content, it's like you want to see more of that. And, I think it can feel like a cash grab a little bit. And yeah, I think they've done some really good stuff. I mostly watch them with my fiance. She likes a lot of Disney and Pixar stuff. And like I watched Princess and the Frog for the first time a little while ago.
I love that. Love it.
And it's like, that style isn't, always up my alley, but like I could appreciate that, like, hey, this is a really good story. The art of everything, it's like it's good, like for what it is. Like I think they do really well. So I do think the more recent stuff does feel a little bit more generic and a little bit more just like, well, we know people are going to see this, so let's do it. So I would like to see them do things that are a little bit more original, although I think they have done some original stories that have kind of bombed recently. So I guess with that, it's like, going back, figuring out what you were doing right, a bunch of years ago, like when I was growing up as a kid, in the stuff that I liked. So I'm not a director or a movie writer, so I don't know what exactly that is, but I think as a viewer, I would want to see something new, not just feeding me something I've kind of already seen before.
And leading on to that, actually, the last 2 years, Disney has tried to do original content, with 2022 being Strange World and then 2023 being Wish. Both of them completely bombed. So I think this year they're trying to do like, we're done like trying to risk it all and just go for something that works. So do you guys think it should have been something else, or like does Moana seem to be the right choice?
I don't know. I'd say I think it's a good choice, but I think kind of going off of what Lucas said, I don't know if like every single Disney thing needs like a sequel, in my opinion. Like it's cool to like see some new stuff, but I guess like having like the new things flop, almost maybe they just to, like play it safe in a way by doing sequels, because like so many people have like grown up watching those things, like I guess like Moana and then like a bunch of other things that have had sequels to them, that they figure that maybe like if they just do sequels of everything, that people will like enjoy that more because it's something they're like familiar with in a way.
So just sort of like in terms of actual Disney movies that we would want sequels for, what do you guys think about Big Hero 6 like sequel?
Yeah, I that's another one I watched relatively recently. I think it was last semester, if I remember right. And that was another one I thought was pretty cool. Like and I really like other like Marvel, DC, like other superhero related stuff. So it was a little bit like more up my alley than some of the other stuff they do. And I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was a good story. I think it is a little different than some other things. Like I think that would be a good candidate. I don't know offhand if there's one I would say I like more. Like I said, I don't always love watching this style of movie. It really depends for me. But that was one that, me watching as a college student, I thought was really good. And I know, again, my nephews, and that's one they like as well. So I think that's one that can reach a lot of people. And I think there's a lot of ways you can go with it, bringing in you know, people with new kind of suits and abilities and like have fun with it. So I could see that working. So if they are going to make sequels, yeah, I think that could work.
Okay. Just moving on from it. So, according to an article from slashfilms.com, originally Moana 2 is actually supposed to be its own series, like a TV series, but at the last minute, it got switched to a theatrical release. So, do you guys think that was the right move? Should Moana 2 have been a TV series instead of an actual movie, based on what you've seen so far in the trailer?
I don't know, just because like it seems it like the first one was a movie. I think it's almost better for like the second one to be a movie because I don't know how it would work out as a TV series. I mean, I think like that could have been interesting maybe, but
Well, maybe if I read the synopsis, would that, maybe help out a little bit with that?
maybe.
Okay. So synopsis reads that Moana and Maui reunite 3 years later after the first film for a new voyage across the seas of Oceania. Moana receives a call from her ancestors and must journey into dangerous, long-lost waters. So would that have worked as a TV show? I feel like it might have, because they could have done like devoted a separate episode for each character, and there's a lot more they could have done with it. But when I originally saw the trailer for this back in whenever this released, I sort of was like, the story was a little bit weak in my opinion compared to the first one. So I guess this clarifies a lot more that it was originally supposed to be a TV show, but then they switched it to a movie. But so on that note, what did you guys think about the original Moana?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I only remember so much because it's been a little while. I know for my nephews. I remember my nephew really liked the shiny guy,
Shiny.
which I think is something people either really liked or thought was really annoying. But I mean, I remember it being cool. I think visually it was like, because there's a lot of water, which I know is like extremely difficult to animate, and I think they did it very well. And so in that way, it's like, yeah, I think visually it was very interesting. I remember like the music and stuff was good, and I think overall it is a really solid addition. And it's like you do the quote unquote Disney princess thing without it feeling just like a different version of the same story, right? Because you have some different culture in there, and you're taking a little bit different direction with like a female lead. So I do think it is a little unique in that way, and yeah, I think it's good. I'm a little curious to see like where they go from here, like how much they keep those elements and do well with them. I think it's interesting. I think it does most of the things you'd want out of a Disney movie.
Right. And I want to agree with your point on when Moana, the original Moana came out, it was sort of like a new take on what a Disney princess is, and I appreciate that with Disney movies because in the past it's kind of been sort of the same formula, so I'm hoping they can sort of expand on that with Moana too. And on that note, what else do you guys think should be expanded on the original Moana story in Moana 2? What would you guys like to see?
I don't know, because like my favorite people in the first one, I like the fact that The Rock played like the Maui,
yeah.
And then I like the pig and the chicken.
Mm-hmm. I think the pig is named Pua, and then the chicken's named Hey Hey, I think.
Oh yeah, Hey Hey.
I could be butchering that so hard, but I haven't written down
Yeah,
here. So.
I like Hey Hey because the chicken's funny, and I don't know. So maybe like the fact that like Moana and Maui kind of like reunite and now they're like friends and everything. I don't know. I feel like their story already kind of got expanded on, or like it will get expanded on in the second one.
Right.
But I don't know. Maybe like other characters, like maybe more like maybe her family a little bit.
Right. Actually, in the trailer, we saw her little sister. So that's like definitely an interesting dynamic.
Okay, her little sister wasn't in the first one, was she?
Don't remember, but they made it a big deal in the trailer of the second one, and it made it seem like she's actually going to be joining the adventure this time. And there was like a split scene of the grandmother in like one of the
like the
So I was like curious how they're going to incorporate her into the second one, because they kind of fleshed it out in the first one anyway. I know she was a pretty big deal. And with Moana and Maui, she has her own group now. It's like a new group. We don't really know their names yet. It really made me wonder, where does Maui fit into that? Because in the first one, she was kind of like alone. Right. And she needs to accomplish her goal, so that's why she enlisted the help of Maui. But in the second one, it kind of confused me, like, why does she need Maui still? Like, if she has her own sort of, group. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I think that's the difficult thing. We're talking about like them kind of rehashing stuff they've already done, is like when you make kind of a standalone movie, you kind of wrap up things and lead into like, okay, this is where they are now, this is the growth they went, like this is their story. So when you dig it back up, it's a little bit like, well, now where do you go? Like, because you need to be careful that like you don't just make them kind of the same as they were at the beginning of the last movie and like undermine like where they ended up last time you saw them. So I think that's the challenge with it, and it's difficult to see like, how do you do that? Like, do you make them a very different character, and like what's the next step? Like, are we going to see them grow again in a different way, or are we going to kind of see them take the same journey we've already seen from them? Like, so they just kind of went in reverse, and now they're getting back where they finished off last time. So yeah, I think that's the difficult thing, and especially because like it's been a while since the first one came out, right? Like, it's not like it doesn't seem like this was planned to, you know, have another one come out until more recently. Been
8 years.
8 years. Yeah, it's a long time. So it's like, I'm assuming there wasn't really a plan for that at the start. So now it becomes like, how do you make that plan and not undermine the original story and make something good? And, you know, yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how they manage that. And that's one of the, you know, troubling things with going back and revisiting the series is, where are they going to start and where are they going to end? And is it the same, or is it just kind of weird? Does it feel out of place? Like, you know, does it kind of underplay the original story that you laid out for the character? So
yeah, so I want to follow up on that with my next question. What sort of plot would you want to see that would make it a good sequel? Just generally, based on the first one. Like, how would you guys, if you were the directors, how would you expand on the first one to make the second one actually good?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the thing like with her little sister in it. I think it could be interesting if like you kind of see Moana like in more of like a mentor leader, like where she had for her in the first one. I think that could be an interesting way you see that evolve, where maybe you see a similar growth that she had in the first movie, but in a new character, and she kind of uses the experience she had in the last one. I think something like that might work. So yeah, I think seeing the characters in some way or another, like kind of taking on a new role. And especially like being 8 years from the last one, I don't know if there'll be kind of a time jump.
There is a 3-year time jump. So Moana was 16 in the first one. She's going to be 19 in the Moana 2.
Yeah, being a little bit in the future, you know, could be interesting to see, you know, after all that time, after all the growth from the first one, you know, how do they kind of take on the mentor role, and, you know, what new characters kind of bring up and go through the journey. I think that could be interesting. As far as specifics, I don't know. But yeah.
So a good coming of age story, sort of? Yeah, because the first one was more, I would say more it was like sort of coming of age because it was sort of like she was discovering herself and all that. But I'd say having this one sort of like her passing the torch to the younger members of the group would probably be like a good place to start. But Emily, what do you think before I continue?
I don't know. I'd say, yeah, probably like a coming of age thing, or just like expanding more on probably her whole sister thing, like the mentor kind of thing, like Lucas said. I think could be cool.
And then how about the relationship between her and Maui? How do we want to see that play out, right? Do we want to see them like hate each other, or like maybe a closer relationship? Because the first one, it's like it was sort of rocky on the first one, but should the second one be more like more harmonious? Or
yeah, I think seeing a more harmonious kind of thing could be fun. I think, you know, again, try not to do the same thing as last time. If they're just kind of at odds again, and it's a little rocky, like you said, then it's like, okay, well, what were we doing in the last movie? Because we're just kind of back where we started. So I think if you kind of see that in like a more of a mutual like just bonding between the two of them, like having them be more like actual friends and not, you know, in each other's way as much, I think that would be good. You know, and I don't think you want to go back to just having all the same problems as last time, because then it feels like we're just doing the whole thing over again. So yeah, I think seeing a new dynamic would be fun, something a little bit different, just seeing characters interact in a different way.
Right. And he was a bit of a troll in the first one, I will say. So it would be really nice to see him like actually take it seriously in the second one. But based on the trailer, he's still the same like kind of goofball as the first one. So we don't know for sure. It's all speculation, but we just have to see. So I guess moving on is, what characters are you excited about seeing again in Moana 2?
The pig and the chicken.
That's mine too. So yeah. Lucas, what about you?
Man, I don't know. I mean, I think Maui's cool. Like you said, he's a little bit of a troll or whatever. And I don't know. I've always been, you know, a little bit of a bigger guy, so I lean towards the guys who are just big in general, which is a really dumb reason. But like, I don't know. I think he's fun. I think The Rock does good with that casting. I think he's a good choice for that. So yeah, I think seeing more of him, and like you said, we are kind of saying before, like seeing a more mature kind of attitude, of maybe that'll be part of the story, is kind of him maturing.
Yeah, hopefully.
Coming into that role. Like, I think if they do something interesting with that, I think it could be really cool and could be a good addition onto what we've already seen.
Okay. So I've kind of like touched up a little bit on like the new characters they're adding. So the main ones, obviously being the little sister, we kind of talked at length about that. But then it's the kind of like the new crew of, Moana as she embarks on this like new journey to, meet the other villages or whatnot. So based on like the small scenes you've seen on them, like there was like that kind of like overtly dramatic dude who like fainted when he saw Maui, right? That one, and the other ones are not really explored that well. But how do you guys feel about like kind of like this interesting dynamic where it's like she's traveling in a group now? She doesn't need Maui anymore. Do you think that kind of aids or, in any way to the story? Or do you think it should have just been her braving it alone again?
I mean, I think it's good that, like, she has kind of, like, in a sense, like, found her people. And the fact that, like, she doesn't need Maui. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's good that, like, she has people by her side instead of, like, having to face things alone. Because, like, everyone should have that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good progression because, if we're looking at kind of the message it's sending to somebody watching the movie, it's like you should be able to do things on your own and be able to go at it that way, but you want to have people around you that you can support, and being able to find that in new people as well. Like I know in my life I've kind of gone in cycles of these are kind of the people that I'm around, and then not as much, and you kind of evolve and go somewhere else, either just because you move farther apart or you're looking for something else. So I think seeing that and like this is how I did it before, but now I have these people, and I do things a little differently now. I think that's a good message, because I think in reality most people, that's the experience they're going to have is, they might feel like they're alone in this one instance, or another time might feel like this is my crowd, this is how I'm living my life. But then in a few years, things change and things evolve. So yeah, I think seeing it kind of in a new setting and, a new way of life, I guess you could say, is good to see.
Yeah, and I definitely would agree on that. It definitely makes it more of like a sequel in a way, because the first one, she's alone. Second one, she's like in a completely different environment than we've seen before. So it's great that they're going to touch up on that for sure. But I want to move on to like predictions on how you think the movie will perform. So how do you think the reception will be when this actually comes out day before Thanksgiving? I don't think people are going to see it until like after Thanksgiving. But how do you think people are going to react to this? Because I know last 2 years have been really bad for Disney, so they really need to, impress people and step it up.
I mean, I think one of the challenges is I think people are just less willing to go out to movie theaters now because it's expensive and it's an ordeal. So if they're like, well, if I can wait and watch on Disney Plus, So I think that's a big challenge, and I think part of that, I have a hard time seeing it perform as good as the first one, because I think people's mentality have changed a little bit. But that being said, I also know there's a lot of people who were really young, a lot of kids who were really young when it came out and definitely want to see the next one. I'm sure, some of my family will be seeing it. And so I think they have a good audience like that is going to make it a priority, and really wants to see it. But yeah, I think their biggest obstacle is I think a lot of people are just saying, well, I can watch it in the comfort of my own home in a few months and not pay any extra money. So right. I think that's their biggest obstacle.
Right. But on the flip side, you're also not getting that massive screen and the, the right. surround sound stuff. Sure. If people want to be immersed, right, if it's a Disney movie based on their prior track records and the production quality, people are probably going to be more inclined to see it in theaters. But, that's up to the public to decide. Obviously, cost is a main thing, because I watched Wish last year in theaters and that was pretty packed. So it might have also been because it was the 100-year anniversary, but that didn't stop them from disappointing me a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I think it'll do pretty well just because like so many people seem to like the first one. So I think people would like want to see the second one. But yeah, I mean, probably like I guess their issue would be people like don't want to go out to theaters anymore because it's so expensive. But I don't know. I mean, at the same time, I feel like it'll be pretty packed. My sister works at a movie theater back home,
nice.
So if I go see it with her, I get it for free. But
okay. So apart from the whole movie sort of like argument, right? What about when this actually eventually comes to streaming? Do you think this would be sort of like the next, big Disney movie, or no?
I could see it being one of the bigger ones in a while just because the first one was so big. And, it's been a number of years, but I think it's not too long to where, like, that audience has completely grown up to the point where they wouldn't be interested in it. So I do think it'll perform better than some of the recent things that they've done.
Hopefully.
Isn't saying a whole lot, I guess.
Yeah, it's not really, it's a really low bar,
but, yeah, I mean, I think it'll do well. Like I said, I think somewhere in between, the recent success and the original movie, but which is a wide range. But, I think it'll be, I would say, closer to the original movie than to, what we've seen the last couple of years. I think a lot of people are going to be interested. I think it'll, even if it doesn't do as well in the box office, I do think a lot of people are going to be watching it and sharing things about it and things like that. Because I think you have the name recognition of the first movie. And, I think that helps a lot. And just, people have some amount of nostalgia for it, even if it's not that old. Like that, I know what to expect from this. I don't think it's going to be terrible because I at least know the characters. I kind of know the direction it's going. So I think there's a comfort in that. I think a lot of people will still want to watch this.
Okay. And then
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably say the same thing, just because like people are so like familiar, I guess, with like Moana in general. So, I think maybe like going back to like the recent things Disney has done, like the original stuff they've done that hasn't done as well. I think because like people are just kind of used to it in a sense that I don't know. I feel like it'll go over well, like whether like it's in the theaters or on streaming. I feel like a lot of people still want to watch it.
Okay. And just, to wrap things up, it's like, what's your final thoughts if I missed anything on Moana 2?
I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of new songs that I'll hear everywhere I go.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh,
around
yeah.
the nieces and nephews and in any public plays, I'm sure there'll be plenty of that to go around. So even if I don't see this soon, I'm sure I'll be hearing that around wherever I go.
Or those internet memes, what can I
Memes.
say?
Yeah.
Except copyright. But yeah.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what the next iteration of that is. What's the thing that's going to catch? So
Yeah. And then you have anything?
I just really like the chicken.
Right. No. Honestly, that's a move. Honestly,
Yeah.
the chicken and the
chicken's
pig.
funny. He's been made into memes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm mainly, honestly, I feel like I'm more looking forward to those characters. I feel like they could put a lot of personality and like they give good comic relief to like especially the serious scenes.
Funny.
They are funny. So I hope they play like a lot more with that around. They did say in that article that they were going to play more with those two characters than they did in the
that's
first one.
good.
So they're listening to the fans on that one, which I'm pretty sure so many people are grateful on that one. But other than that, if there's nothing else to add, I mean, that's been Moana 2, right? Thank you guys for, coming in and sharing your time. This is the end of StarNotes for today. Let us know what you think in the comments, and, we will see you next time.